that the New Orleans Saints are trying to move into the top 10. Now, normally, if you're in that division, you don't want to help out someone that's in your division, but that is very interesting. The Saints possibly moving up. What do you think the Saints are going after?
Well, from what I've read, the Saints are very interested in one of these cornerbacks, not a quarterback. So not unless Justin Fields falls. The report I read was, if Justin Fields seems to fall, then possibly the Saints could go up for him. But they're really interested in one of these defensive players. Of course, they lost to Norris Jenkins last year. They still have Marshall Lattimore, but it would always be good to have another top cornerback out of this class in Surtain, J.C. Horn, Caleb Fairley. One of those three guys. I've heard that that's who the Saints are kind of targeting. But it also said in the same tweet that, if Justin Fields were to fall, then maybe they could be looking up to trade up to get them. The New Orleans Saints are just mad because no one's been talking about them for the last 2 months with the NFL draft because they're way back down there at 28. And, they're like, one of the, when your sister gets married and she's getting all the attention and then, maybe she's going to try to rush and try to get that ring possibly close to the wedding just to show everyone, oh, okay, I'm getting married too. That's what the Saints are trying to do right now, Rob. They're trying to steal the Falcons' thunder, and I don't like it. I don't like the Saints. And, the Saints, hopefully they stay back at 28 and they get the scraps left of the first round. Let's hope for that, Rob.
Well, the Saints are also in salary cap hell. Let's make sure that we put that out there. And so, that's something that maybe they can try to get themselves out of. I don't know, but it's interesting. The Saints are trying to do that and move themselves up a little bit. But, we've talked about this before. Do you think there's any movement on the possibility of a running back being picked in the first round? You can go 1A, 1B with Najee Harris and, of course, Travis Etienne, depending on which way you want to go. But the more and more I look and the prospects that are there, I think this draft is not going to have somebody as far as a running back going in the first round.
Yeah, I was all for 2 running backs in the first round. Rob, I'm down to now 1 running back in the first round. I think the value will just be too high in the late 20s. A team like Pittsburgh at 24 or Buffalo at possibly at 30 could go running back. So I got 1 running back, and that's Najee Harris going to Pittsburgh. That was in my last mock draft. And I actually had Travis Etienne going to the Atlanta Falcons at pick 35. So if that were to happen, Rob, I would be super pumped, and I think Travis Etienne will be stepping into a nice situation, especially if they grab Kyle Pitts in the first round and then Etienne in the second to go with what they already have on offense, and then they can focus on the defense the rest of the draft. So that would be great for the Atlanta Falcons and Travis Etienne. I think he's a dynamic player. I think most years he would probably be first-round pick, but with 5 quarterbacks possibly going in the first round and the value of the running backs these days, that's why he may fall to the second. But, hey, there's some good running backs to win the second round last year. Jonathan Taylor, DeAndre Swift, 2 guys who had heck of rookie seasons last year. So even though you go in the second, that does not mean you're not a good running back. So there'll be value later on in, 4th, 3rd, 4th, 5th round draft running backs as well.
All right, now the big story I think this evening also on the quarterback front is where will Justin Fields go? But Mac Jones, who is the Alabama quarterback that came in there and helped the Tide win the national title. But, I think there's you mentioned his name, and either people love Mac Jones or they hate Mac Jones. There's talk that he may go at 3rd. Do you think that's a little high for Mac Jones?
Me personally, Rob, if I was the GM or the head coach of the San Francisco 49ers, I'd be targeting Justin Fields. That's just what I would be doing. But at the same time, the argument I've heard about Mac Jones is that, he's not a great athlete. He doesn't have the huge arm. But at the end of the day, the guy puts the ball where it needs to be. His accuracy is very good. He's a competitor. Dealt with Jalen Hurts and Tua Tagovailoa. Did not hit the transfer portal like most quarterbacks would have done in the same exact situation. He let it play out, and he ended up having a spectacular season. And here's another thing. When did you see a lot of these Alabama players making like spectacular catches? Because you know what? They didn't, because Mac Jones put the ball on the money almost every single time, and you cannot fault him for doing that and for his guys being wide open and him being untouched because his offensive line was so good. So I think his ceiling is 3. Like, I think that's the highest he could go is 3, Rob. But I feel like his floor is 15 at New England. I feel like he will not get past New England at 15 if he were to not go in the top 10. But, man, everything I'm hearing right now, he's the favorite right now in Las Vegas. He's the favorite right now to go number 3 overall to San Francisco. So he's a different kind of prospect because he doesn't wow you off the charts. You know, he doesn't have the huge vertical leap. He doesn't have the 4.4 speed. He doesn't have the 80-yard rocket arm. He just doesn't have those things. But what he does have, he's very cerebral. He's going to study very hard. He's going to put work in, and his teammates loved him at Alabama. And I feel like Mac Jones can go in there next year and win a locker room. And I feel like he starts 10 games plus next year wherever he ends up.
Blake Online says, "Oh Lord, here comes the daily Mac Jones is smart speech." Apparently. Well, look, we kind of know. All right, Mac Jones can play at a high level. He's won a national title, but Trey Lance, the young man from North Dakota State. I get the Dakotas mixed up.
North Dakota State. Yeah,
North Dakota State. The North Dakota State folks are going to be mad at me for saying they were South Dakota, but I read a stat that he has 329 career passing attempts. Did you know that?
Yeah, he's only started. He's 17-0. He started 17 games, and basically he played one game in 2020. They basically had like a showcase for him for one game to kind of put out some tape, and he was kind of rattled through his first 2 career interceptions in that game. They ended up winning the game, but he's inexperienced, but at the same time, he has very raw ability. What he's able to do, I feel like outside of the pocket, he can tuck the ball and run in certain situations, and he has a nice arm. So some of his throws he had at North Dakota State were very, very good throws, and he puts the ball right on the money, and he's another smart guy. I mean, he's a guy who a lot of teams wanted to play safety, so he's an athletic kid, and I feel like he's going to need a year. I feel like Trey Lance will benefit from, a system learning under a guy for, 10, 11 games, and then maybe getting, that audition at the end of the season in the last 4 or 5 weeks of the season. So Trey Lance, I feel like he's another guy who could go anywhere from 3. You could see him 4 at Atlanta, 7 Detroit, 9 Denver, or like I said, New England, Washington, Chicago. All those teams need quarterbacks. So it's a quarterback needy league. And, that's why everyone's so excited about these 5 quarterbacks. But I will say, Rob, right now, all 5 of these quarterbacks will not be franchise quarterbacks. It's just proven throughout history that it's so hard to hit on 5 quarterbacks in the same draft as franchise guys. It's almost impossible. So we'll see what happens. Only time will tell.
Just some perspective on that. He's thrown 329 passes in his career. Last season at Notre Dame, DJ Uiagalelei threw 44 passes in one game. So I just kind of want to give that perspective there, because I read that stat today and I was like, man, this guy talks the game of he's a first-round quarterback, but 329 total passes in his career. I mean, when I look at that, I think that's not enough of a book for me to make a judgment on to give you top 10 money. Yeah, we could take a flyer on you late in the second round, etc. But wow, 329 pass, and insane.
Yeah,
man.
COVID really hurt him. He would have benefited. Opting out really hurt him. Basically, he opted out because his season got moved from fall to spring. So that's why he opted out, because he was going pro regardless. So he really would have benefited from a season in 2020. He's one of those guys who kind of got the raw end of it. So yeah, he would have benefited from another year, but I feel like he is ready to make that jump, and he just needs a little bit of time to, get under a playbook, get with an assistant coach, and get acclimated to the NFL.
All right, overrated players. Is there a player that you look at and you're like, man, somebody's going to take this guy and we're going to laugh at them later on with, man, you made this pick and wow. Is there somebody that's shooting up the board that you're kind of like, I don't know about that?
I'm looking at my draft right now. I'm looking at my first round draft. A guy who could possibly bust, a Kwity Paye from Michigan. Not saying I like him. I honestly like him. He's one of my top pass rushers in the draft. But in a few years, if he turned into a guy like Takk McKinley who the Falcons had a few years ago, a lot of people were high on him. Thought he was going to have a nice career. Did not pan out with Atlanta. I have him going 26 to Cleveland. He only has 11.5 sacks in his career in 4 years at Michigan. So that is something to look out for. Had 6.5 sacks in 2019, only had 2 sacks last year in 2020, but he is physically gifted. He has all the talent, but can he put it together and put out the tape? That's a question mark. I know some people would question that. Also, another edge rusher, Gregory Rousseau from Miami. This is a guy who's very, very raw. Another guy who opted out of the season. And then these are edge rushers too, Rob. So edge rushers are so hard to pick from what they're able to do in college and what they're able to do in the pros. You really have to have the physical tools. You can't just have, the motor. You have to have the physical tools to go with the motor. So defensive end and edge rusher is very hard to say. I say those two guys could possibly be, bust in a few years. Now, maybe they may not pan out with the team that picks them, but they could possibly, after their second or
have a resurgence somewhere else. Yeah, I got it.
Yeah, that happens. Sometimes teams, you don't hit with your first team. You go through and wind up with other teams and you figure it out. So maybe that's something that could happen with those two guys. Not saying that I like those guys. I have them as first round picks in my mock draft, but I'm just saying if those are two guys who kind of come to mind when you ask me that question.
All right, well, we talked about the guys that are going to bust, the guys you think that will excel that may not get picked early. I mean, do you have your sleeper picks, I guess is the term that we'll use?
Yeah, I really like Jarrett Patterson, running back out of Buffalo. This is a guy who a lot of people haven't heard about because he played his football in the MAC conference. He's 5'9", 215 pounds. He's like a little bowling ball. Reminds me a lot of Michael Turner. I feel like he's anywhere in that 3rd round to 5th round grade. He could go anywhere. If a team falls in love with him, he could go 3rd round, or he could end up in the 5th round. But he's a guy who can really run the ball on 1st and 2nd down in between the tackles. If you look at his tape, he got better each and every year at Buffalo. I really like him. And then another guy who I keep hearing a lot about, guys, Anthony Schwartz, wide receiver from Auburn. He's kind of a track star. I mean, the guy is like world-class speed. I mean, he's very, very fast. So when you think of speed, you think of a Tyreek Hill type player. Now, he's not that physical as Tyreek Hill, but he did take some plays to the house at Auburn on screens and little gadget plays. He's a guy who's risen up draft boards. I have like a 3rd to 4th round grade on him. I've seen him mocked anywhere in the 2nd round. So you could see something like that. And then a quarterback who I really have kind of started to like more throughout this process, and that's Kellen Mond from Texas A&M. Kellen Mond was a 4-year starter at Texas A&M. He really had his best season this year under Jimbo Fisher. He's a guy who I think can be a developmental quarterback on the roster, kind of a backup player. Reminds me a little bit, guys. I'm not going to don't shoot the messenger. He reminds me a little bit about Dak Prescott, who went 135 overall, who was a 4th round draft pick. That Kellen Mond has similar traits to Dak Prescott. He has a very big arm. Kellen Mond has a big arm. He can throw the football down the field, and he's also athletic enough to make plays. Kellen Mond is a guy I feel like he can be a backup for a year or two, and then maybe 3rd or 4th year, you're looking at possibly a starter in the NFL. So Kellen Mond, a guy who's risen up my draft board. I had him in my top 100 in my final Kicking It with Crowder Hot 100. So Kellen Mond, a guy who I like, who have liked more and more since I started this recruiting stuff.
Well, I once again, we bring you on because you follow this a lot harder than I do, but I'm not buying Kellen Mond with a sack of anything. I just not buying. Maybe it'll prove me wrong, but I'm not buying Kellen Mond.
Developmental quarterback, backup quarterback who could possibly get a chance in a few years. That's kind of my report on him. And I liked him the more tape I watched of him this year, and watched him at his pro day. Kellen Mond is a guy who I was like you, Rob, wasn't very high on him, but he has impressed me the last few months.
Kellen Mond, when he plays against decent teams, he ends up disappearing, but that's just me. Well, he'll have to shake that. But hey, Tyler, I appreciate it as always joining the show. Folks can find your Hot 100 is on your website, right? kickingitwithcrowder.com. And you can go and check out his podcast. Find that. It's just look for Kicking It with Crowder. And you're on Twitter where?
At Kicking It with Crow. And I'm going live tonight, guys, on Facebook, doing a little pre-draft show. So if you'd like to join me there, guys, I'll be out there tonight, probably like 6 to 7 o'clock. So we're on there.
All right, Tyler. Hey, man, thanks so much for joining us here on the Rundown. I appreciate it, brother.
Thank you for having me, Rob.
All right, there you go. Tyler Crowder joining us there, little NFL draft talk. Take a quick break. When we come back, we've got some college football playoff news. Something came out yesterday from The Athletic. I want to talk about that. Some folks online with some comments. We'll get to those when we come back. This is The Rundown. You're listening to Fox Sports Radio 1400. I'm not buying the Kellen Mond. I don't. No. Kellen Mond, come on. You know, I think that Pay is going to be all right too. The more and more you look at him, it looks like he may be all right. He's got the physical tools. You like 2 through 7 better because that's when the Mississippi State players get drafted. None of them are worth a damn in the first round. Proof that I can rip on any team. No, I'm picking at you, Blake. That's funny, though. I've got another a crazy trade rumor from last night that no one's heard about yet, or if they have, it hasn't really blown up too much. But this is pretty funny. We'll get into that. Which 3, Alan? I mean, I think the knock on the Georgia players is that they aren't well coached. So they're all projects. Yeah, I'm going to hell for that. What do you hear about this potential trade? This is hilarious. I got to research the New Balance deal. I don't know. I don't know how much of a space New Balance has in, are they doing football too, or is that across the board? I don't know. That's why I got to research that a little bit. Well, welcome back to the Rundown on Fox Sports Radio 1400 around the world on the iHeart Radio app. Ladies and gentlemen, I put it out on the air that I'm a Green Bay Packers fan, and apparently last night, according to Paul Allen of KFAN, he reports that the San Francisco 49ers made a massive trade offer for Aaron Rodgers. Yes, the perennial Pro Bowl quarterback that plays at Green Bay is kind of the face of the franchise. That guy. Yeah, they made a move for him. Here's what they offered. The 3rd overall pick in this year's draft, other picks, a number of players from their current roster, including Garoppolo, their quarterback, and, of course, Green Bay turned that down. I don't know if that was actually something that was completely legitimate or not, but let's put that into perspective for a moment. Aaron Rodgers is I think he's one of the top 5 quarterbacks in the NFL, but I also think that Aaron Rodgers is long in the tooth. He's 37, 38 years. I mean, he's an older quarterback. Okay. I don't know how much longer he's going to play. Aaron Rodgers, though, also is a guy that is a little bit, you have to deal with Aaron Rodgers in a certain way. He's very, he's hosting Jeopardy right now. He's a smart guy. Okay. But he also is, it seems like if he gets his feelings hurt, he's not going to do what you want him to do. So I don't know if that would actually pay off or not, but it is interesting that this comes out there. The Packers haven't restructured his contract to maximize cap space this year, according to this, due in part to the possibility they'll get an offer for him that they can't refuse. Another source who hadn't heard the rumor but found it plausible remarked, "It would be interesting to know whether any of this is being instigated by Rodgers, given his frustration with the year-to-year contract status and his potential desire to get to the West Coast." Look, I've said this before and I'll say it again. The majority of the NFL teams now a lot of them are, it's not like how it used to be where you had like family-owned teams, okay? Green Bay is the most interesting place because it's actually owned by the community. And I think they do more to take care of their folks there. Whereas if you go to San Francisco, do you really want to get into that mess? Especially when, let's be honest, your career's probably going to be on the decline. And I'm an Aaron Rodgers guy, but the reality is that you can't beat Father Time. So, yeah, that's going to be interesting to see how that rolls out. But it's interesting that rumor comes out, and it's reported by WFAN out in San Francisco. All right, you can give us a call on that if you want to talk about that at 803-978-1832. We're going to talk baseball in a second. John Kostis from the Columbia Fireflies joins us, and the roster reveal for the Fireflies. So we'll talk about that, and I've got college football playoff talk coming up here shortly with a report from The Athletic about the idea of the playoff expanding and how it's going to go. We talked about, 8 games or 16 games. According to this, it may go to 12. What? Yeah, we'll talk about that in a little bit. But I got to talk baseball for a minute with John Kostis from the Columbia Fireflies. We'll get with him in just a moment right here on the Rundown. Don't forget, Lawton Swan from Clemson Sports Talk checks in after me. He is the czar of Clemson sports. Be sure to check out his show. Podcast of the show will be up at 5 o'clock this afternoon. So make sure you take the time and download that if you've missed any of the show. Tomorrow on the program, draft reaction. Who's going to take Mac Jones? That's going to be the big thing tonight, because there are a lot of folks that are not buying what Mac Jones is selling. even though he did finish out well there with the Crimson Tide. All right, well, we'll get back with John Kostis in just a moment. This is the Rundown right here on Fox Sports Radio 1400. South Carolina is a team that is interesting to me because they've got the bats, I think. They've also got a pitcher that's been pitching midweek named Jack Mahoney that's a freshman that is 5-0. I know it's in midweek games, but they, he reminds me of he's the guy that can come in and win you games in the SEC tournament and stuff like that because there's not a lot of tape on him against SEC type opponents. So I think Mahoney is a guy that has been just the gem of the midweek through almost 8 innings of a 2-hit ball the other night. And I think he's going to be good. So we'll see how that works out. But I do know this. Clemson's not very good. Wow, Clemson's terrible. Who's gotten vaccinated? Everybody's gotten vaccinated, right? Well, welcome back to the Rundown on Fox Sports Radio 1400. Out to the phones we go. We welcome in the play-by-play voice of your Columbia Fireflies, Mr. John Kostis. John, what's up, brother?
Hey, not too much. Just having fun with our big announcement today and diving in a little bit deeper, getting ready for first pitch on Tuesday.
Well, I'll tell you what, before today, the only true Firefly that we knew was the Firefly mascot.
Right, Mason.
Mason the mascot. But now we can actually put some more faces into some of these Fireflies jerseys. And I'll tell you what, looking at the roster today, we should have some good baseball here in Columbia with the Royals sending down some great prospects.
Yeah, we've got some really exciting guys to watch. I think just SEC fans in general might first notice Brady McConnell. Obviously he crushed it when he was at Florida, and he's going to really anchor down the middle infield. He struggled a bit in his rookie season back in 2019 in minor league baseball, but I'm sure after 2 years of growth and growing into his frame a little bit, he's going to look really, really good. And then the other guy from the SEC is Tucker Bradley, right? Georgia Bulldog, who last year hit .397 in 18 games. How can you not get excited about that fit?
Yeah, I'm with you on that. But, something else that's interesting, too, with basically minor league baseball not happening last year, a lot of these guys almost had a year off. And that can be good for the body and everything else. I mean, obviously they have to train and everything else, but the grind of the road on the minor leagues, you think that's something that having that year off, it may help some of these guys heading into this season?
I think the year off is going to overwhelmingly be a positive thing for a lot of these young guys, particularly the international players who were coming in and They were 17, 18, 19 years old. Now they have that extra year of development, right? An 18-year-old to play 120 games, that puts an incredible strain on your body. But they're going to now be 19 years old. They're able to put on some weight in the weight room and stuff like that over the course of last year, whereas last summer if they were playing baseball, they wouldn't have been lifting 4 or 5 times a week. They would have been more worried about stretching out and making sure that they stay injury-free on the baseball diamond.
Well, tell us some more about the lineup that, the roster that was sent down by the Royals. You mentioned a couple of the guys from the SEC, but there was, I think I read in your release, there's one player that should be wreak havoc on the base paths, right?
Oh yeah, we've got a guy from University of Alabama, Birmingham, who's just going to be really, really good. Tyler Tolbert. He ended up ranking first on the team and in the conference for University of Alabama, Birmingham, with 25 steals in the Conference USA over the course of something like 23 games. He's another guy who was affected by an abbreviated season in 2020. So really small sample size, but really able to steal a lot of bags. He's going to be really good. And Tyler Tolbert, since it's draft day, I guess it's only fair to talk about an NFL player here. His cousin is a name that might sound familiar to anyone who's familiar with the University of Tennessee or the Pittsburgh Steelers, but Joshua Dobbs.
Oh yeah, Josh. I remember. I remember Joshua Dobbs. Tennessee fans, I'm sure, will remember him as well. So yeah, interesting stuff there. Tell us about Daryl Collins, though.
Oh, Daryl Collins, a young guy out of the Netherlands, top 25 prospect for the Kansas City Royals. And he's going to bring a very big bat to this order. I'm not sure if it'll certainly come via power that goes over the fence. Maybe he's not going to hit 25 home runs this year, but I think gap to gap, he's going to be great. He's going to be a guy who hits for average. He's a guy who played in the World Baseball Classic as a teenager in the Netherlands. He ended up hitting about 400 when he was at the highest level of professional play in the Netherlands. And then he said, you know what, I need to go over stateside. And it's very fitting that he's a corner outfielder because his parents named him after the 1980s Mets superstar Darryl Strawberry. And he hits very much the same. In his first professional season, which was in the Arizona League, that's a rookie league, he was able to hit about 350, and then he reached safely in his first 24 games. So this kid's going to be an absolute stud. I can't wait to see what he's able to do on the diamond.
I'll tell you, it's going to be some exciting baseball around here. The Fireflies start their season on May 4th against the Augusta Green Jackets, but the home opener is May 11th when they play the Charleston River Dogs. And, of course, it's going to be minor league baseball coming back this year. It just seemed so empty last year without the Fireflies playing, but having them back, and, of course, with them being a Royals affiliate, a little bit different this year. But tell folks where they can get tickets and if they want to go ahead and get them set up for the home opener on the 11th.
Yeah, if you want to buy tickets for the May 11th game, it's really simply go to firefliestickets.com. And then you just go through any of the days that you want to go. Every single series this year is Tuesday through Sunday. So Mondays are that day off, which means if you want to come on out to a Fireflies game and they're in town, you're guaranteed they're going to be in town Thursday, Friday, Saturday. And you know those promotions as well as anyone. We'll have the fireworks nights on Fridays. We'll have Thirsty Thursdays, the 2 for Tuesdays. There's going to be plenty of stuff that we're going to have at the ballpark this year, so that way fans can get that taste of minor league baseball once again.
All right, John. Hey, man, I appreciate you joining us here and looking forward to the Fireflies returning to Columbia and having some minor league baseball, man. Hey, thanks so much for joining us, brother.
Yeah, no, thanks for having me.
All right, there you go. John Kostis joining us here on the Rundown. We appreciate him and talking a little bit about the Fireflies. Of course, you can go and check out a Fireflies game, ColumbiaFireflies.com. You can find out more about them. And the cool part about the minor league stuff is you can watch, let's say you are a fan of, I don't know, pick a team. You can follow that team and watch some of their younger guys as they come up through the minor leagues. If you remember correctly, I think when we had the Bombers here in Columbia, and of course this is a long time ago, Hank Aaron played at Capital City Park. Chipper Jones played down there. Ron Gant. I mean, you can throw in all kinds of stuff. I use that as Braves players, but yeah, it's kind of cool to see these guys when they're, they're young, and you can actually, it feels like you're closer to them at a minor league game than you would be at if you go and you watch them in the majors. So, and minor league baseball is it's just a cool thing to have in our town. So it's great that John and I will be having conversations about the Fireflies as he gets set for his grind, which is following the Fireflies as they go around the country. I say around the country, around the it's not even the Sally League anymore, but as they play the teams that I know they got a lot of games with the Green Jackets and the River Dogs. So yeah, it's gonna be kind of cool. All right, when we come back, we're gonna have some playoff talk. And what I mean by that is that the talk of 8, 12, or 16, and we've all kind of agreed maybe it's going to be 8 or 16, but one report by The Athletic says it may be a move to 12 teams in the college football playoff. So we'll talk about that when we come back right here on The Rundown on Fox Sports Radio 1400. Of course, around the world on the iHeartRadio app, as I said. You can also follow me on Twitter. I'm at Rob Sounds Good. Lots of interesting stuff I've been retweeting lately. Lots of funny when it comes to following me on Twitter. So be sure to check that out. Blog page is up at foxsportsradio1400.com. I have all kinds of information there for you if you want to check that out as well. Appreciate the folks that go over there and read some of the stuff we put up on the blog page. All right, when we come back, we'll have that playoff talk for you and a couple other little notes before we get out of here, right here on The Rundown on Fox Sports Radio 1400. No one cares what you think. The 3 national championship trophies that Clemson has, that since you won your last one, that's what people play for, not a head-to-head series like a bunch of idiots. Georgia fans that talk about, we won 42-18 last time. Yeah, so what? No one cares. Hang that up on a banner. Do you get a trophy for that? We won 42-18 the last time we played Clemson. We don't play for national titles here because we're stupid. We have a coach that wears a lady's visor on the sideline, but we're going to tell Clemson we're a better program. You're not even in the same stratosphere. Go over there and bark with your fans, like Charles Barkley said, and just stop. You don't know what you're talking about. No one cares. You're 42-18. Congratulations, you won. What'd that do? It got your coach fired. You don't even have the same coach. Georgia fans you guys are the worst, man. Absolute worst. You don't know anything about football. It's going to be great showing up here on September the 6th when you won't be here. You'll be talking about, we got to fire Kirby Smart. He ain't getting the job done. Simple fans, man. You guys are just ignorant. You're the worst type of college football fans. You don't know anything about football at all. It's sad. No one cares. Clemson has 3 national titles since your last one. Try that. You can start this year, and you still have to win 2 more to match Clemson since the last time you won one. Try that. Try that. Head-to-head matchups don't mean anything. You can't win anything when it's worth a damn. You play top 10 opponents, you look stupid. Your coach thought Stetson Bennett was a better quarterback than anybody else on the roster. Silliness. Look, I agree with you on that, man. but they are the fakest fans too. They'll be talking literally. We got to fire Kirby Smart. The worst fans ever. I mean, in the history of the sport, I'm beginning to think Georgia fans are probably the worst. I'm starting to believe that. Well, welcome back to the Rundown on Fox Sports Radio 1400 around the world on the iHeartRadio app. I'm Rob Sanders. Thanks for joining us here today. 12 teams. The college football playoffs expansion is building support according to several different sources. Here's a stat that certain fan bases like the Georgia Bulldogs won't like, but it's a true stat. Of the 28 available spots in the playoffs since its inception in 2014, Alabama, Ohio State, Clemson, and Oklahoma have occupied 20, creating an exclusive postseason each year that has left major conferences in the cold and regions of the national college football fan base without a rooting interest at the end of the season. Well, when it comes to Georgia, they can't sometimes win their division like last year, but they still think they're the absolute best. But in reality, we know that the elite teams in college football are Alabama, Ohio State, Clemson, and Oklahoma. Why? Because they make the playoff. Novel thought, right? You make the playoffs, then you're probably one of the more elite teams. Yeah. So, just saying, 28 available spots, 20 of them went to those teams. Pretty impressive when you really sit back and think about it. But now the talk is, and maybe this is put out there by some of these schools that just can't quite get there. Just can't quite get there. That's what this is going to be. This is going to be the expansion of this to 12 or 16 teams is going to be so that teams that can't cut it, like Georgia, like Penn State, insert team here, that can't quite get over the hump and get into the college football playoff, it's almost like a participation trophy for them. Let's let them in. Let's let Texas A&M in. Texas A&M should be in because, hey, they almost beat Alabama. They almost won the division last year, even though Alabama beat them senseless. They almost won, though. Wouldn't it be a nice little novel thing? It's sort of like going to the movies and, you're going to get your popcorn and your Coke and everything else. But then, why not have like a side item, an extra side item with your concessions? It's that kind of thing. When you have teams that don't belong there, like the Georgia Bulldogs and Penn State and teams like that are close, but they can't quite get over the hump. Notre Dame is another team. Thank you for that, Jimmy. Maybe this is one of those exception things where, hey, we can get Notre Dame to be in we can have them in every year. That's what these are going to be. The non-elite spots, the teams that want to be Clemson or Alabama or Ohio State or Oklahoma, but they can't because they don't have something out of the mix. Now, with Georgia, they don't really have an excuse because they have top 3 recruiting classes every single year. Their non-conference schedule is an absolute joke. I mean, let's talk about Murray State and Arkansas State and everything else. They don't play Alabama every year, even though they will feed you the lie that they play out. Oh, we play a tough SEC schedule every year. No, you don't. You played Alabama 6 times since 2000, so please close your mouth on that. I mean, I know facts hurt feelings, but this is the absolute truth. The expansion is going to be for teams that just aren't quite good enough. And group of 5 teams like Cincinnati and teams like that. So they'll have the opportunity to get into the playoffs and then get embarrassed by the teams that are at the top, the Alabamas, Ohio States, Clemsons, and Oklahoma. So that's what's going to happen here with that. And the more and more I look at it, the idea of having these teams in there, like the Georgia Bulldogs, who don't belong, It's not going to help the game at all. We're going to have a bunch of games where they're going to go out, and it'll be like the SEC championship game a couple of years ago when Georgia was saying, oh, we have the best defense that Joe Burrow will ever see. And Joe Burrow went out and threw all over the place, and the Georgia fans were leaving at the half. I mean, that happened too, right? But we were still fed the lie of, oh, this is the best defense they'll ever see. Okay. Yeah. The more and more I think about it, the college football playoff expansion it's not worth our time. It makes the game, it takes away from the value of the game. We need to really think about that. Let's take these 4 teams and make sure that they're really great. Let's have that. Let's have the 4 great teams instead of 12 teams and only 4 of them are worth it. Brock with a comment online, I could coach UGA with their current talent and still win the SEC East. Yes, sir, you certainly can. So could my cat. I have a cat at home. My cat's name is Harambe. I named her after the big gorilla from up in Cincinnati. I'm not joking. Harambe the cat could coach Georgia better, in my opinion. With that much talent. And nobody can even remotely sit here and tell me why they can't get it done. Other than we play an SEC schedule. That is stupid. It's completely you have one game a year that you absolutely have to get up for, and that's the Florida Gators. That's it. Georgia fans kill me with all of this. Anyway, so the more and more I think about it, the expansion to the 12 is silly. Expansion to 8 might work, but you know what? I like the idea of the 4. Let's have the 4 teams, and that's the best, and that's it. And then have those other teams, the also-rans, the teams that don't belong there, let them strive to get over the hump and knock one of those other teams off. Let's just not have this participation trophy society where, well, congratulations, you won 10 out of your 12 games. I mean, you lost to Florida and you lost to Alabama, but you should still be in the college football playoff. No. Let's not go with that. Let's keep it with the cream of the crop is there. Not the teams that have the number 3 ranked recruiting class overall in the past 5 seasons, but can't seem to get the job done. But let's not reward them with a college football playoff spot that they're probably not going to show up for and do anything that's worth a salt anyway. Lawton Swan of Clemson Sports Talk is next. He's not as vile as I am about this stuff, but he does feel the same way, I believe. If not, he'll let you know. He does want to run for mayor. He is the czar of Clemson Sports. You can find him on Twitter. He's at Clemson Sports on
Stop
Twitter.
looking at me, Swan.
There you go. Yeah. Anyway, ClemsonSportsTalk.com. NFL draft tonight. I'll be tweeting out during the draft tonight. Be sure to check that out. There are some picks that I'm going to laugh at, and you'll find out on Twitter tonight. If certain teams do certain things, I laugh at what the Atlanta Falcons are going to do because I think they're sweating in their office right now because they have no clue what they want to do. They should trade their way out of the first round. They really do. Trade your way out and then go from there. All right, anyway, tomorrow, draft recap. Looking forward to it. A quick comment from G Bama Boy. A 2-loss team means you're good but not great. You don't deserve to be in the playoffs. Exactly. How about this? If you don't win your division, you probably shouldn't be there either. Just throwing that out there. I don't care how much talent you have on your team. You don't have enough to win your division. You don't belong anywhere. Go to the CarQuest Bowl or whatever bowl that's the Myrtle Beach Bowl, whatever. That's kind of where you belong. All right, draft recap tomorrow here on the Rundown on Fox Sports Radio 1400. It's not a smirk on my face, you fool. It's not a smirk. It's an absolute fact. Your team is crap, and you know it. And in the grand scheme of things, you know that Kirby Smart is recruiting well, but he's not going to get it done. But go ahead, keep believing those lies. It's going to be great. Make sure you show up here on September the 6th. All right? That way we all laugh at you together. And hey, if Clemson loses, that's fine. I'll still be here. And once again, one of the other things, Clemson is your Super Bowl, by the way. It's your absolute Super Bowl. I mean, they may riot in the streets in Athens because they don't know what it is to get an actual win that's worth a damn. So if they do beat Clemson, which I don't see happening, it's going to be literally like you won the Super Bowl. Clemson is your standard. Remember that. Remember that. Clemson is your standard, Georgia fans. You wish that you could be like the Clemson team, but you can't.